Every milestone reached, for every lesson, every dream we teach. May your hand be upon the journey. May your light shine through each step. Not by our strength alone we stand, but by the guidance of...
Hey there, let's dive right into this explainer and completely demystify the Class of Business Personal Lines mock exam together. If you're gearing up to step into the South African insurance industry, you know exactly what's standing in your way. It's a total gauntlet of tricky scenario-based questions. But don't worry, today we're going to break down the absolute core concepts you'll face in those 50 critical exam questions, taking all that overwhelming study material and turning it into clear, easy-to-remember takeaways. 65%. That is the magic number you need to hit to pass this challenging 50-question, 90-minute assessment. Basically, that means you need at least 33 correct answers to succeed. Now, I know it might sound a little daunting at first, but honestly, by focusing on the underlying principles, instead of just blindly memorizing facts, you're going to find this incredibly manageable. So, here is our game plan for crushing this exam. First, conquering the 50-question exam. Second, core principles of insurance. Third, matching products to needs. Fourth, underwriting and processing claims. Fifth, conduct, ethics, and legislation. And finally, acing your final exam. Part 1. Conquering the 50-question exam. Okay, so here's what you're up against. 50 questions, 90 minutes. That literally gives you less than 2 minutes per question. So you can't just memorize facts, you need to deeply understand the underlying South African insurance concepts if you want to beat the clock. The exam loves throwing real-world scenarios at you, so having your definitions down completely cold is what's really going to save you time here. Part 2. Core Principles of Insurance. Let's test your active recall on a notoriously tricky mock exam question before we talk about the underlying concept. Question 3 asks, which of the following is a peril in personal lines? A thatch roof, leaving your keys in the car, fire, or owning a house near the sea? Go ahead and lock in your guess. The secret here is distinguishing the actual cause of a loss from the conditions that just make it worse. A peril is the actual active cause of the damage, like a fire or a massive storm. A hazard, on the other hand, is just a physical condition that increases the chance of that loss happening, like having a highly flammable thatch roof, or even a moral hazard, like leaving your keys right in the ignition. So that makes fire, option C, the correct answer. Now, for questions like question 10, it's absolutely crucial that you know the average penalty formula. Let's say a client insures their 800,000 Rand house for only 400,000 Rand, and then they have 100,000 Rand theft. Well, because they only insured the house for half its actual value, they're basically acting as their own insurer for the other half. Using the formula, 400K over 800K is 50%. 50% of the 100K loss is 50,000 Rand. That's it. That is all the insurer is going to pay. Part 3. Matching products to needs. Think about question 16 for a second. Which product covers your iPhone when it gets stolen at a restaurant? Is it buildings, motor, all risk, or personal liability? Really think about the core definitions of these categories. Where exactly does a portable electronic device fit in? This perfectly illustrates the differences. Motor is for vehicles, obviously. Buildings coverage is for permanent structures that you literally cannot move. And personal liability covers you if, for example, your dog bites a visitor. This proves that all risk, which you might also know as portable possessions, is the absolute only correct answer for that stolen iPhone, simply because it covers items you actually take outside the home. So how does all this build into the actual advisory process? Well, to avoid getting into deep regulatory trouble, you absolutely have to follow this mandatory FAIS advice sequence before you ever recommend a product. First up, the fact find to gather their info. Second, the needs analysis to figure out what risks they actually face. Only after doing that do you recommend a product. And finally, you document every single step in the record of advice, or ROA. Oh, and if a client refuses to give you their info, you have to warn them in writing. Part 4. Underwriting and processing claims. Remember what we just learned about hazards a minute ago? Keep that in mind for question 28. For buildings insurance, how will a thatch roof impact the policy? Will it reduce the premium, increase it, have no impact, or somehow void POPIA? Because a thatch roof is a massive physical hazard, meaning it's a huge fire risk, the underwriter is going to take it very, very seriously. Looking at the core rating factors, construction materials definitely matter. The underwriter will absolutely increase the premium, or they might even demand special terms like a SANS-approved lightning conductor. Other big factors they'll look at include 3 to 5 years of claims history, security setups, and the physical location of the property. When a claim actually happens, there's an exact flow the insurer follows. First is notification. The client has to tell the insurer ASAP, usually within 30 days, or immediately to the police if it's a crime like theft. Next comes the assessment, where a loss adjuster might step in for the really complex or expensive losses. And finally, settlement or repudiation. Keep in mind, if a claim is repudiated, the insurer is legally required to provide a valid reason that references an exact policy clause. They can't just say no without proof. Part 5. Conduct, Ethics, and Legislation. Here is a classic regulatory question that frequently trips up students. What exactly is the role of a key individual, or KI? Are they responsible for selling just one single product, making the tea, paying claims, or managing and overseeing activities for compliance? Use this neat little rule of 3 to keep your acronyms straight for exam day. The FAIS Act handles advice and intermediary services. FSCA is all about anti-money laundering and verifying who your clients actually are. And POPIA protects personal information and privacy. To answer our question, a key individual is the person who manages and oversees all of this compliance and competency under the FAIS Act. They are basically the regulatory captains of the ship. The Financial Sector Conduct Authority enforces these 6 Treating Customers Fairly, or TCF, outcomes. And listen, this isn't just some corporate tick box exercise. It's about embedding a true culture of fairness at every single level of the business. From the initial product design to making sure there are absolutely no unreasonable barriers when a client needs to submit a claim. This entire concept is the exact answer to question 25 on your mock exam. Part 6. Acing your final exam. Definitely keep these high-yield tips from the Student Support Guide top of mind. South African exams love tricking you with double negatives, so read every question twice. Always calculate buildings at replacement cost, never ever market value. Your records of advice documents must be kept on file for exactly 5 years. And crucially, don't confuse contribution, which is when 2 insurers split a claim for the same risk, with subrogation, which is when your insurer pays you and then hunts down the negligent third party to get their money back. Just a quick, very important heads up from our sources. While this explainer is a fantastic, high-yield review to help you grasp the core concepts, it's strictly an independent educational tool. You still absolutely need to complete your official accredited provider assessments to get your actual official certification. So with all of this structured knowledge locked in, from perils and hazards to the intricacies of the FAIS Act, are you ready to conquer that 50-question exam? Review the material, practice your average calculations, and keep those regulatory acronyms straight. But I want to leave you with this. Once you finally pass this test, how will you use this knowledge to ensure the clients trusting you with their livelihoods are genuinely protected when disaster inevitably strikes?
Placed within them. May every milestone achieved and every career path developed bring glory to you. Amen.